it's Honey. I hate the Blind Box Wave 4 sheltie. At this point, it's not a surprise. I've talked about it in multiple videos. But today, I'm actually going to be doing something about it because while I do love the Wave 4 sheltie's design in general, the KX version just irks me. Here's the ES version. Beautiful, amazing, adorable, the cutest little guy. And here's the KX version. What do I even say? Here they are next to each other for anyone who wanted more confirmation about how different these two pets actually look. I also want to reiterate, if you like the KX version, that's completely fine. Everyone is valid to their own opinions on these pets, and I am not going to shun anyone for liking the KX version. It's just not my personal cup of tea, and I want to take this pet and turn it into something that I'll actually really enjoy. Because I own the ES version, and I think it's perfect just how it is. So why not take the KX version and turn it into a special Halloween themed custom? Yep, you heard correctly. Basic Fun didn't release any Halloween pets this year, but that's not gonna stop me because we're gonna make our own using our Wave 4 Blind Box KX sheltie. So grab some candy corn, make yourself a little hot chocolate, bring that blanket out, get comfy, and let's turn this pet into a Halloween special. So yes, I am using one of the new Wave 4 Blind Box pets for this custom, and I did digitally plan this custom out beforehand. I will show a little bit of the process, but you can see the final image here as well. Once I had that digital layout in mind, it was time to start customizing. I always start off with a base coat of Mr. Base White. You don't have to do this, you can literally just use white acrylic paint, but I found it a lot smoother and better. I then started going in with multiple coats of our base color. I usually don't paint with super light pastel colors, so I was a bit nervous to see how this color would show up after multiple coats. Like, I was really hoping it wouldn't be too streaky or lumpy or anything like that, and thankfully it did turn out fine. But I was nervous, especially doing the first couple of coats because it is such a light color. It did take me about 4 coats total, so you guys are going to see that process. We've seen the first coat, I'm doing the second coat now, just getting into all those little grooves and building it up. Then it was onto the third coat. This one here was mainly focusing on the body and all the little areas in the fluff. And then the fourth and final coat on the whole LPS for the base color. It was then time to sketch out the kind of patchwork of this zombie LPS. Again, working with light colors can be a bit frustrating because it takes so long to build it up, and for the first couple of coats it really doesn't look that good. It really looks streaky and just like it's not going to pan out how you want it to, but I really had to stick it out, and I want to give that advice to anybody who is working, especially with lighter colors, painting a custom. You just got to stick it out and keep building those thin layers because it will look rough in the beginning. It will look really frustrating, but it will get there. Purple definitely wasn't as light as the green, but it was still frustrating building up all those multiple layers. But in the end, I was really happy with the amount of kind of patchwork for the purple areas. I was also a bit less, I guess, focused on staying within the lines around the feet because I knew I was going to paint them eventually. I also felt like the back of the head was lacking a bit, so I decided to add kind of a little freehand patch of this purple fur onto the back. I think it really added something. I feel like I don't want to neglect the back of this pet and just leave it as this pastel green if it's meant to be a zombie that's all stitched together. So once the purple was built up, I did go in and clean up some of the lines, and then it was time to start on our slightly darker shade of green. Now the first couple coats of this paint, you actually can't even see it properly, and that's because I was using pretty much the same shade of green, but just darker. So once I started building up the layers, you could definitely see it more, but the first few layers on camera especially, it looks like I'm just painting the base color over again. But trust me, I was doing a darker green. I originally, with this design, was just going to do green and purple and not this darker green as well, but once I started painting it on, especially on this ear, I really loved it. I absolutely adore this forest green color in general, and then adding it onto this custom, which already had these two different patch colors happening, I feel like really tied the design together. Once again, it was just the long game of building up layers of this darker green color, and the more layers I add, the more visible it is on camera, and I was getting pretty happy with it. I really loved the design around the ear specifically, this kind of like following the shape but then adding an unnatural little bump. I don't know, I just I love the idea of this kind of stitched together zombie pet. As for the small details, I went in with a pastel pink color, which I thankfully didn't have to mix because it is a like pre-mixed color that I'm very happy about, because all the other colors in this custom I had to mix up myself. But for this pink, I used it on the nose and the feet and ears. I used a slightly darker pink for the tongue and the eyes, which you will see later on. Like I mentioned, I was pretty messy when it came to painting around the feet, and that's because I knew I was going to come in later and clean it up with this pink paint, so I wasn't too worried about that. And again, just building up lots of layers with this pastel color. But I really like this pink. It's probably one of the softest colors I have, and I've used it a couple times for like the inside of pets' ears and maybe like tongues, but I've never fully used it on stuff like feet and noses, and I think it was a nice color to use. I feel like, I don't know, it just, how do I explain my thought process? This little guy was always going to be pastel, and I think the pink just really added to that. I wanted to go in and of course add some stitching to where the different fur colors meet, and to do that I used some silver paint and a toothpick. And the reason I used a toothpick is because I wanted to make these stitches look a little more 3D, a little thicker, and I felt like I couldn't really get that effect with using a paintbrush. So I used a toothpick, and I think it turned out pretty cool. The stitches aren't the cleanest thing ever, but I think it worked how I wanted it to, so in the end I am very happy with the effect. And of course, using silver paint as well really helps it reflect in the light and kind of give that metal look, which I wanted. I also ended up using the toothpick for some dotting details because it is very small and very handy, and I've used my toothpick in the past for some dotting as well as my dotting tools, and I think the little details were just really tying it all together for me. I needed to paint the inside of the ears with this pink paint, but it was going to take quite long, so I opted to do most of it off screen and just kind of focus the rest of this painting on the eyes. Eyes for me are always the make it or break it part of my customs. I've done, I think, some pretty good eyes, and if you look at my older customs, I've done some pretty stinker eyes. So I was hoping that I could do good eyes this time around. I decided to try using a acrylic paint pen, as I had seen other customizers use it, and while it was very opaque, I didn't like it. It was too watery, and I felt like I didn't have enough control over it. So while it did help me kind of outline the shape I wanted, I evidently went over the top with my own paint and paintbrush because it just wasn't doing it for me. I did finish the eyes off screen and I wanted to leave it as a bit of a surprise, so please welcome our new zombie LPS. Boo! So, what do we think? Here is our little zombie sheltie, and I am so happy with how this little guy turned out. I was really nervous painting a KX mold because I really don't like them, but now that I've actually had the chance to paint one, I truly think the problem with KX Pets isn't the mold itself, it's actually the paint job. Since KX Pets became a thing, I have always thought that it was a combination of the mold and paint being terrible, but like I said, now that I've actually painted one, I truly do think if KX Pets actually had good paint jobs, I'd have no problem with them. Putting our KX and ES side by side, they still do have differences. You can tell that the KX has a smaller head and it's taller. But giving this guy a full Halloween makeover has definitely made me more optimistic, I guess, that if there are KX Pets that I get that I don't like, I can turn them around. It sucks that I have to do it myself, but hey, it is what it is. Back to the pet and the design itself, I'm gonna add some clips of this sheltie on display, little 360, give you some close-ups, and I want to hear what you guys think. I've not done a custom like this before. I did a horror-themed pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern a couple years ago, but that was over on my TikTok and it was a more realistic custom. This one here is a lot more cartoonish, a lot more fantasy based, and I really love him. I always hate talking good about my work because I don't want to sound like egotistical, but I truly do love how this pet turned out. I've been really trying to get better at, I guess, color theory and just matching colors on my customs better, like what colors work well with each other, what colors contrast, stuff like that. And looking at this little guy all finished, I think I'm doing better. Obviously, I'm no Hello Studios when it comes to customizing, but I like to hope I am still constantly improving. I also want to take a moment to say a massive thank you to anyone who has watched this video. I know my custom videos aren't the most popular thing on my channel, but I do really enjoy creating them because I like doing customs and showing them to you guys and taking you along the process with me, and the support I get on these videos really does mean a lot. So I just want to say a massive thank you. I appreciate you for every single person who watched this video. If you do want to see more of my custom content, I do sometimes post customs over on my Instagram that I don't make full videos for, and obviously I also post images of the customs I show on my YouTube channel on there as well. Yeah, just thank you so much for your support with my customs because you guys keep me going and wanting to improve. But now that this little guy's done, I now need to take some photos of him. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, like always, please do not forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. And I'll see you next time with a brand new upload. Until then, bye guys!